प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकीशोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। नमोऽस्तु रामाय सलक्ष्मणाय देव्यै च तस्यै जनकात्मजायै। नमोऽस्तु रुद्रेन्द्रयमानिलेभ्यो नमोऽस्तु चन्द्रार्कमरुद्गणेभ्यः। ॐ नमः परमहंसास्वादित चरणकमलचिन्मकरन्दाय भक्तजनमानसनिवासाय श्रीरामचन्द्राय ॐ। Um, so yesterday we started the story of Ayodhya Kanda in the Bala Ramayana, the first sarga of Balakanda. There was something that I should have told, but I thought I will tell today because I wanted to get to the shloka where Mother Janaki is introduced, and that is that I've mentioned this earlier too, that um, the story of Balakanda, stories like Vishwamitra coming and taking Rama and Lakshmana for the yaga, and there they killing Tataki and Maricha and Subahu, and then they going on the way they will meet Ahalya, and then they go to Mithila, and Rama gets married, and then there is Parashurama. These stories are not explicitly mentioned in the Bala Ramayana. I mean, in the Narada's retelling of Ramayana. So there is always speculation that some scholars make that Ramayana per se, Valmiki's original manuscript only starts from Ayodhya Kanda, and the stories mentioned in Balakanda are actually not there, because even if you see in Narada's retelling of the stories are not mentioned. Uh, while there is some merit to the argument that many of the sargas of Balakandas are prakshipta, so they are interpolated later, but it may not be entirely true that all the stories that happened in Balakanda did not originally happen, because those stories are in some ways connected to the stories that happen later. For example, Maricha comes back later in the story, and you can't account for Maricha's story without accounting for Vishwamitra's yaga, and then Subahu being killed and Maricha being thrown to a far off place by Rama's arrow. And then in Agastya's story, so Rama meets Agastya in the forest, which we will see it comes in Balaramayana also. So Agastya gives Rama a certain a bow. So that also has to be accounted by the events of the Balakanda. So some scholars say that Narada didn't say it, and as a quote unquote refutation to that, we can say, like I mentioned this earlier also, some some adjectives used in that portion of the Balakanda portion of Balaramayana, you can say that these are indicating stories of Balakanda itself. For example, Ikshvaku Vamsha Prabhavaha shows Rama's birth, and then Shatru Nibarhanaha, an adjective came there that shows Vishwamitra's story and Rama killing Shatrus there. And then Lakshmivan we saw there. You can see that Rama's wedding with Sita Devi is mentioned. And then Satya Parakramam comes in 19th shloka itself. Satya Parakramam shows the story with Parashurama. So anyway, I thought I should mention this. And then moving ahead to Ayodhya Kanda story, we have seen that even Lakshmana follows Rama to the forest out of his love for Rama, and not necessarily, in fact, not because Dasharatha told him to. Dasharatha's or Kaikeyi's boon is only for Rama to go to the forest, but out of his love, he cannot stay away from Rama himself. Lakshmana is very dearly attached to Rama, so he can't stay away, and so he joins. In fact, if you see in Ayodhya Kanda story, when we see later, Rama doesn't even argue much with Lakshmana. I mean, you can say because of two, he argues so much with Kaushalya. He says, no, you don't have to come, you have to serve here. He tries to argue with Sita Devi also, but Sita Devi says, no, I have to come. Then she joins. When it comes to Lakshmana's situation, he doesn't argue much. He gives away very easily, whereas with Kaushalya and Sita, he argues a lot. That's, you could say, two reasons. One is by then he's already tired arguing with so many people. He says, okay, if you want to come, just come. Or because he himself also cannot be away without Lakshmana. Anyway, so out of love, Lakshmana also joins in, and now we see Sita Devi is being introduced in Ramayana for the first time here. Ramasya Daita Bharya Nityam Prana Samahita Janakasya Kule Jata Deva Maye Vanirmita Sarva Lakshana Sampanna Narina Uttama Vadhuhu Sita Pyanugata Ramam Shashinam Rohini Yatha. So Ramasya Daita Bharya. Daita, so this Daitaha, you word was used for Lakshmana also. Daitaha is somebody who's very dear. So Lakshmana is very dear to Rama. Such Lakshmana joined, and now Sita is also very dear to Rama. Daita now is used in the Strilinga. That is for Sita. So she is very dear to Rama. That's Sita, and she's Bharya. Bharya actually means somebody that you have to bear. You have to hold, something like that. But the Tikakara gives a nice interpretation to that. Kriti Santatam Dharya. So Bharya is somebody that you have to always bear in your heart. That's the idea he's giving. So Bharya Nityam Prana Sama Hita. So Prana Sama Hita, Nityam Prana Sama, Nityam Hita. So she is always thinking of Rama's welfare also. And why is that? Because she's Prana Sama. She attaches her own welfare with Rama's welfare. If Rama is happy, she's happy. If Rama is sad, she's sad. Something like that. So that's because they are both together. Wife and husband are supposed to have that. What should I say? And these things come up in Vivaha mantras also, that you should have the let's say consensus of mind. Both have to think. Their thoughts also should be in unison. Their happiness and sadness are attached to each other. So such a Sita. Janakasya Kule Jata Deva Mayeva Nirmita. So this is a beautiful place that we have to think about a little. Janakasya Kule Jata. So Janaka, as we might generally know, Janaka is the name of father of Sita, but actually Janaka is a common name for many kings in that lineage itself. So it comes in Balakanda later, when Janaka, during the wedding of Rama and Sita, so Rama's lineage is listed, and then Janaka himself lists his own lineage. In that we can see that Janaka tells at a particular place about, I don't remember the names of those people, but at a particular place he says he is the first Janaka. So from that particular king onwards, everybody later has been called Janaka. And so even in our Upanishads, Janaka keeps coming. In Bhagavad Gita also, Janaka word keeps coming. It's not necessarily Sita Devi's own father, but all kings in those lineage are supposed to be great Brahmagyanis, and they are all called as Janaka. So in that lineage of Brahmagyanis, she is born. That is the idea. Janakasya Kule Jata Deva Mayeva Nirmita. So and by the way, this particular Janaka's name, Sita Devi's own father, that Janaka, Janaka's name is called Siradhwaja. So the Siradhwaja name is not there in Valmiki Ramayana. You don't see it. In fact, in Valmiki Ramayana, while listing out the lineage of Janaka, he starts from the first person in his lineage, and then he lists out. He tells up to his father's name, and then he says, "I am his son." That's all he says. He doesn't give a name, and then he introduces his brother also. He tells his brother's name also. So from where did we get this Siradhwaja name? Of course, the commentator is pointing out, but where did the commentator also get it from? This story comes in the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, in the 9th Skanda, when Rama's story is being described, there the lineage of Sita Devi is also mentioned, and there it is mentioned that so and so's son is Janaka, and the lineage more or less tallies. The lineage that is given in Valmiki Ramayana and the lineage that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam more or less tallies, not entirely. So there, this Janaka's name is Siradhwaja. So Sita Devi's father's, that particular Janaka's name is Siradhwaja. But in general, Janaka is a name for anybody in that lineage. It's like a title, and then all of them are supposed to be Brahmagyanis. Anyway, so the Janakasya Kule Jata Devamayeva Nirmita. Now it's very apparent that Devamayeva Nirmita, the general meaning is that she is Maya herself. Maya herself is Devasya Maya, perhaps. So Vishnu's own Maya has taken form. So Vishnu's own Maya is who? Lakshmi. So Nirmita Kritavatara Deva Maya Devasya Vishnur Lakshmi. So she is Lakshmi, who's Vishnu Maya. Vishnu's Maya herself has taken avatara as Sita. That is the idea. Vishnu Lakshmi. And there are other interpretations also given. So this what I just quoted is from Govinda Raja. So Tilakakara also says Devaireva Swakarya Siddhya Kankshibhihi Nirmita Avirbhavita. So Devatas have as though created her for their own Karya Siddhi. What is their Karya Siddhi? Ravana's Vadha is their Karya Siddhi. And like you see in even in Durga Saptashati and places like that, so these Devatas, each of them each of the Devatas, through one of their amshas this Devi is formed. So something like that. So devatas together with all their, each of them contributing their amsha, this Deva Maya is formed. That means Sita Devi is born as an amsha of all those devatas, something like that. And why did they do that? Because they had a purpose in mind, which is to slay Ravana, and that has to happen only after. I mean, it has to happen through Sita. So Saguna Brahman has to be empowered. Nirguna Brahman has to be empowered through Maya, and that happens only when Maya is also introduced in the story. In fact, that's how beautifully in Valmiki Ramayana, in the very Sarga in Balakanda, it is 17th or 18th Sarga in Balakanda, where Rama's birth is mentioned. So in that same Sarga itself, Dasharatha also thinks about Rama's wedding. And as even he's thinking of Rama's wedding, he just says out in the court to his Purohitas and others that it's time for us to get Rama married to some worthy lady. And at the same time, it is announced in the court that Vishwamitra is coming. It's Valmiki's beautiful way of saying that Vishwamitra is now coming to get Rama eventually married to Sita. Anyway, so even in Valmiki Ramayana, we see that only after Sita is also introduced into the story gains importance, something like that. Tyagaraja also says Ma Janaki Chettapattaka Maharaju Vaitivi. Only after Janaki, R Janaki, he says. So only after R Janaki has joined you, you have gained fame. So that's because Maya Shakti has to, so we call Maya Shabalitam Brahma. Maya Shakti has to, somehow make the Nirguna Brahma capable of any Vyavahara. So anyway, so Deva Mayava Nirmita, this can go on and on. Sarvalakshana Sampanna Narinam Uttama Vadhu. Sarvalakshana Sampanna is all the good qualities that a woman has to have, she has. So Narinam Uttama Vadhu. So she is the best among all women. Narinam Uttama Vadhu. Vadhu means actually a bride also, and also means a daughter-in-law. So it depends from whose perspective you are talking. So she is the newlywed bride of Rama, and she's the daughter-in-law of Dasharatha, something like that. And then Sita Pyanugata Ramam Shashinam Rohini Yatha. That Sita also follows Rama. Like how? Like Rohini follows moon. So moon, all the nakshatras, 27 nakshatras are supposed to be moon's wives, and of them all, Rohini is supposed to be a favorite star for Chandra himself. So Rohini and Chandra are always supposed to be eternally in love with each other and things like that. In fact, in Sundarakanda also, Sita quotes a list of Pativratas. So Lopamudra and Agastya, Arundhati and Vasishtha, and Rohini and Shashi, so Sun and Prabha, something like that. She quotes a lot of names, and she says, I have taken in my life inspiration from all of them. So that Dhwani is there here also, that Sita has heard all these stories and she's taken inspiration from them, and like that, like one of those Pativratas, she also joined Rama and went to the forest. Now Paurairanagato Duram Pitra Dasharathena Cha Shringavera Pure Sutam Gangakule Vyasarjayat Guhamasadya Dharmatma Nishadhipatim Priyam Nishadadhipatim Priyam Guhena Sahito Ramo Lakshmanena Cha Sitaya. So Paurair Anugato Duram Pitra Dasharathena Cha, when they have decided to go into the forest, for some distance Dasharatha follows them and then he gives up, and then for some more distance even the citizens of Ayodhya follow them. They keep following them, and then they reach a place called Shringaverapura, which is the let's say the kingdom of this Nishadadhipati Guha. So of this Guha, this city they enter, and having reached that place, they meet Guha Masadhya is they go and meet. Literally, it means they go and attain Guha. That means they have gone and met Guha Masadhya Dharmatma. This Dharmatma is an adjective to Guha, so he's or maybe Dharmatma is an adjective to Rama itself. So Guham Asadya Dharmatma Nishadadhipatim Priyam. So that Rama, that Dharmatma Rama, why Dharmatma? Because he has hold on to that tough vrata of going to the forest despite it being very difficult for him. That Dharmatma Rama Nishadadhipatim Priyam Guham Asadya. So Priyam is this Guha. So this Guha's kingdom is on the borders of Ayodhya, So there they have regular interchanges or exchanges with each other, so they know already each other. And then he's also a very good friend of Rama. In fact, in Yuddha Kanda, Rama sends Hanuman beforehand to Guha when they are returning back to Ayodhya, and then he says Guha is a friend who's equal to me in stature. So he gives him an equal status because he's also a king. So that Priyam, he's he likes Guha a lot. Nishadadhipatim, he's the king of these Nishadas. Then Guham Asadya Sutam Ganga Kule Vyasarjat. Suta is the charioteer, Sumantra is also one of the ministers of Dasharatha, is also the charioteer of Dasharatha, is a very close friend of Dasharatha since childhood perhaps, because in the story of Ayodhya Kanda, he is one of them who takes the liberty to scold Kaikeyi. That's an entire chapter in itself. A mere charioteer cannot take that liberty, he takes the liberty of scolding Kaikeyi. That means it shows that they have been good friends. Dasharatha and Sumantra have been good friends for a long time. So that Sutam Ganga Kule Vyasarjat, they reach the banks of Ganga, which is part of the Shringavedapura kingdom. They reach the banks of Ganga, and then Sumantra was sent by Dasharatha saying, take Rama to the forest, show him a few places, and then get him back. And then get him back in a Ratha. So that's how Dasharatha sends his own Ratha. And that Ratha comes with Sumantra, the charioteer. But then Rama says, no, I actually want to follow the rule, the Vrata of staying in the forest for 14 years. So you go back. And that's where he sends them back. Even before that, the trick as in he doesn't want the citizens to follow him forever, So anyway, we see that story later in Ayodhya Kanda. At that point, after meeting Guha, he sends back Sumantra also. Guhena Sahito Ramo Lakshmanena Jasitaya Te Vanena Vanangatva Nadis Tirtva Bahudakaha चित्रकूटम अनुप्राप्य भरद्वाजस्य शासनात् रम्यमावसतं कृत्वा रममाणावनेत्रयः. So Guhena Sahitaha Ramaha Lakshmanena cha Sitaya. So actually this should have been along with the previous set of verses itself. So Guha along with, or maybe with the, it doesn't go with the next lines, but this line means along with Guha and along with Lakshmana and along with Sita, that Rama have left Suta at the banks of the Ganga. And now after that has happened, then he crosses Ganga, and then Te Vanena Vanangatva Nadis Tirtva Bahudakaha. They go from one forest to another forest. Vanena Vanam Gatva. So one forest to other forest, they enter deep into the forest. That's the idea. Vanena Vanam Gatva Nadis Tirtva Bahudakaha. And they cross rivers which have so many waters. So you can see those stories also come. They cross Ganga, Yamuna, and things like that. And then this Vanena Vanam Gatva, the Shiromani Kara has a nice way of explaining it. Avanena Avani Prithvi Eva Evastyadharatvena Yasmin Gamane Tena Padatranadi Rahita Sancharenetyartha. So Vanena Vanam Gatva is Avanena Vanam Gatva. So Avanena means Avani, Prithvi is the only Adhara for their walking. That means they don't have slippers or padukas on their feet. Like that they went from forest to forest. That's the idea. So Vanena Vanam Gatva, then Chitrakutam Anuprapya Bharadwajasya Shasanat. When they go into the forest, they meet Bharadwaja first, and then he asks Bharadwaja for a location that he can stay, and then Bharadwaja points out to him a place called Chitrakuta. So he reaches Chitrakutam Anuprapya Bharadwajasya Shasanat. So how did he reach Chitrakuta? By Bharadwaja's suggestion, he reached Chitrakuta. Having reached there, Ramyam Avasatam Kritva Ramamana Vane Trayaha. Trayaha is Sita, Rama, and Lakshmana. They have they are happily staying in the Vana. How are they staying? By building a house for themselves. So Ramyam Avasatam Kritva. So Avasatam is a Parnashala. They have built a Parnashala. Actually, Lakshmana builds a Parnashala. So Rama even asks, when did you learn these things? So Lakshmana says, I know how to build a Parnashala. So they are princes, you can't expect them to build a house. It's not their skill set, let's say. But anyway, Lakshmana builds a beautiful Parnashala, and they stay in that Parnashala, and they are happy. Deva Gandharva Sankashas Tatrate Nyavasan Sukham. So Deva Gandharva Sankashaha, these people, so there are two ways of explaining Deva Gandharvaha. Deva Gandharvas are one class of Gandharvas. So Manushya Gandharvas and Deva Gandharvas, they say. Gandharvas themselves are people who are experts in, they are above Manushyas and then a tad bit below Devatas. So that's how they are placed. And then even in Gandharvas, and they are experts in singing and dance. So, and they are of two types, Deva Gandharva and Manushya Gandharva. This comes in Taittiriya Upanishad also, in Ananda Mimamsa. So Manushya Gandharvas are a lower level amongst Gandharvas, and then Deva Gandharvas are a higher level. So like Deva Gandharvas, they were very happy in the forest. That's one idea. Another idea of Deva Gandharva is Devi cha Devascha Devau Lakshmi Narayano Devau cha Gandharvascha Deva Gandharvaha Tat Sadrishaha Deva Gandharva Sankashaha. So Devi cha Devascha Devau. So Deva Gandharva split it in two ways. So Deva and Gandharva. Deva is Devi cha Devascha Devau. So So Devi is Sita Devi and Deva is Narayana, which is Rama. Those two, and you make a Dvandva Samasa, you retain with Deva, and then Gandharva is Lakshmana. So Deva Gandharva means Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana. These three people, Nyavasan Sukham, they happily lived. So in that Parnashala which they built for themselves. Tatra is in that Parnashala, they Nyavasan Sukham. And now this happy things are going on, and then even Valmiki in Ayodhya Kanda story beautifully shifts the scene now to Ayodhya. Till now he's described Sita and Rama are happy, but then that happiness doesn't last long, because now Dasharatha has died by then, and then they come here, and then Rama comes to know of that story, and then he's disturbed. Anyway, so Chitrakutam Gate Rame Putra Shoka Turasthata Putra Shoka Turastatha Raja Dasharatha Swargam Jagama Vilapan Sutam. So Chitrakutam Gate Rame, when Rama has reached Chitrakuta, then the story shifts now to Ayodhya. What happens in Ayodhya? Putra Shokaturaha, Dasharatha is overwhelmed by his sorrow, which is born out of separation from his son. Such a Dasharatha was overwhelmed with that sorrow. Raja Dasharatha, the king Dasharatha, Swargam Jagama, he goes to heaven. That means he passes away. Vilapan Sutam, so he cries for his son, and in that crying, in weeping for son, thinking of Rama, he passes away. Actually, in Ayodhya Kanda, you will see that the last words that Dasharatha ever says is he scolds Kaikeyi. So first he thinks so much about Rama, he says, Ha Raghava, so you are like my life, you have gone away, and things like that. Then he thinks of Kaikeyi, Kaushalya and Sumitra. But anyway, literally the last word that he speaks is, Hey Kaikeyi, you have been the cause of destruction of my entire family. Something like that he says and passes away. But then you can take the general idea that behind all those thoughts also Rama was there, even though he was scolding Kaikeyi, but he was scolding Kaikeyi for what? Because she has separated him from Rama. In Ramcharitmanas, there is a beautiful doha where the death of Dasharatha is mentioned. I don't remember the entire doha, but it is Ram Ram Kahi Ram Kahi Ram Ram Kahi Ram. So there is a doha like that. So the last words of Dasharatha is Rama Rama. He says he weeps for Rama, and then he goes to Swargadhama. That is the doha there. So he thinks about Rama, thinking about Rama, Dasharatha loses life, and then what happens? Gatedu tasmin bharato vasishtha pramukhair dvijaihi niyujyamano rajyaya naichad rajyam mahabalaha. So Gatedu tasmin, and then when Dasharatha passes away, Bharata is called for, Bharata is informed, yeah, that is the doha. Bharata is called for, and then Vasishtha and other elders tell him that, they tell him the story. This is what has happened. Now it's up to you. The kingdom is on you. You have to take up the kingdom. You have to rule now. So Vasishtha Pramukhair Dijaihi Niyujyamanaha. Niyujyamana is they put him. They try to entrust the kingdom to him. Niyujyamano Rajyaya. So they try to entrust the kingdom onto Bharata. But then he, Naichad Rajyam Mahabalaha, that great Bharata, he doesn't want the Rajyam. He says, I am not interested in this. And then what does he prefer to do? He says, no, let us all go to Rama in the forest and try to persuade him to come back. So Jagama Vanam Viro Rama Pada Prasadakaha Gatvatu Sa Mahatmanam Ramam Satya Parakramam Ayachad Bhrataram Ramam Arya Bhava Puraskritaha Tvameva Raja Dharmagnya iti Ramam Vacho Bravit. So that Veera, that Bharata goes to the forest. So he goes to the forest to go and persuade Rama to come back to the kingdom. And Gatva tu sa Mahatmanam Ramam Satyaparakrama. He goes to Rama, who is Satyaparakrama. Satyaparakrama, we have been saying so far, is his resolve is strong. Once he has decided on something, he doesn't go back. So that kind of Rama he goes. And then Ayachat Bhrataram Ramam Aryabhava Puraskritaha. He requests that Rama, his elder brother, and this Aryabhava Puraskrita is respectfully requests Rama that you have to come back and then rule Ayodhya. What is the exact words he says? Tvameva Raja Dharmagnaha. So he says you are supposed to be the Raja, and Dharma, and then Dharma, therefore you should be Raja. So Dharma, therefore you should be Raja is Dharma in a general sense, therefore you are fit to be Raja. And then Tvameva Raja Dharmagnaha, specifically there is a Dharma. And what is that specific Dharma? When the eldest brother, so Tikakaras are quoting, when the eldest brother is alive and healthy and fit to rule a kingdom, the younger brother should not become the king. So that is the Dharma here when it comes to succession in kingdoms. So that Dharma also, having known that Dharma, what should you do? You should become the king now. Tvameva Raja Dharmagnaha iti Ramam Vacho Bravit. These words he tells to Rama that you are fit to be the king, you know Dharma, and you are the eldest brother also of all four of us, so you should be the king. Now, Ramopi Paramodara Sumukhas Sumahayasha Naichat Pitura Nachaichat Pitura Deshad Rajyam Ramo Mahabalaha. So these two, I mean, first half of the second half of 36 and first half of 37, they go together. There is one way in which all Tikakaras are interpreting it, and there is one way that I thought of. So I will come to that later. With Rama's blessing, I thought of some meaning. Perhaps Rama would like that meaning more, but let's see. Ramopi Paramodaraha Sumukhas Sumahayashaha. So this Ramopi, this Rama, the first Rama, is an adjective to the Rama that comes in the second line. Ramo Mahabalaha. When you see, so that Rama there, Ramo Mahabalaha, there Rama is the proper noun, which is Rama. But this Ramopi, Paramodaraha, these are all adjectives. Ramopi, Paramodaropi, Sumukhopi, Sumahayashopi, Mahabalopi. This is the idea. So this Rama, Ramopi means Ramopi, Ramayatiti Vyutpatya, Ashrita Chittaranjakopi. So Ramopi here means one who can make the people who have approached him happy. So Bharata has approached him with a particular desire in mind. So he is the one who can make such people who have approached him happy. That is Ramopi. Paramodaropi. So Paramodaraha is I have approached him for asking him something. So one of those Tikakaras are saying Paramodara means I can give even myself. To that extent he can give away whatever he has, he can give away if you go and ask him. So what is the Paramatvam of his generosity? The Paramatvam is even himself he will give away. That is the Paramatvam of his Udaratvam, the generosity. Sumukhopi, Sumukhaha is he is happy. Why is he happy? Because he has now, I mean, his nature is to help people who approach him, him being Bhagavan. So now that somebody has come to ask him for some help, he is happy. Somebody is coming to me, and that makes me do what I am supposed to do. So therefore he is happy. And Sumahayasha, he is very famous for giving whatever people ask. So he has that fame, that Mahayasha, like I told you yesterday, Virdadati Nayachakan. So he is so famous that he gives, once he gives for a lifetime, you don't have to go and ask anybody anything again, once again. And then Mahabalaha, not only, see, these are all desires. I like to give, I want to give, but then you should be capable of giving also. So that is what Mahabalaha means. So he's capable of giving also, whatever people come and ask him. So he's capable of giving it, and then he's known for giving it. He's happy that somebody is now asking him, and then he's known for giving everything, including himself, and then he's known for giving. Ramopi is that he's known for making people who reach him happy. That Rama Nachaichat Pituradeshad Rajyam. Even though he is well known for all these things, Bharat, he is well known for giving whatever is asked from him. In this case, he is not able to fulfill that because his father has ordained him to to go to the forest. That's what his father has said. So even though he is famous for all these things, for giving away whatever is asked for, but still in this particular case, he could not do that because of Pituradesha. Now, what struck me today in the evening was this Ramopi Paramodaraha. So first of all, Narada is thinking of these qualities of Rama and being very happy. He's telling the story. Suddenly, some adjectives he's putting. That's because he's thinking of the greatness of Rama in his mind and then proceeding with the story. So would Rama also just give away like that? So had Rama given up his vrata and then gone back to Ayodhya, he wouldn't have been Rama. So that he's Sumahayasha, he's famous. He wouldn't have become so famous had he done this, had he just joined back Ayodhya. But this Ramopi Paramodaraha, this Paramodaraha is not an adjective only to Rama, So Api is there. Rama is also Paramodara means what? Bharata is also Paramodaraha ityarthaha. That is the idea I thought I should tell. Ramopi Paramodaraha is an idea that Bharata is also Paramodara. How is Bharata Paramodara? Because actually the kingdom has come to him, but he said, no, I don't want it. I will give it to my elder brother who is more deserving than me. He could have very right royally said, okay, I will enjoy the kingdom now that it has come to me. Otherwise, it could not have come to me anyway. But now that it has come, let me enjoy it. He didn't say that. He gave up that great kingdom of Ayodhya. So he gave up. So he is Paramodara. And Rama is no less. Ramopi Paramodaraha. That's the idea. In fact, there's a shloka in Bhagavatam, very beautiful shloka. So, Tyaktva surepsita tyaktva sudustyaja surepsita rajya lakshmi. That's how the shloka. There are two very beautiful shlokas on Rama and Bhagavatam. So this is one of them, that they come one after the other. So this shloka means sudustyaja surepsita rajya lakshmi. So this rajya lakshmi, the kingdom of Ayodhya, the wealth or Lakshmi called the kingdom of Ayodhya, is so great that even devatas want to have authority over it. It is surepsita, so it's something that even devatas want, and it is sudustyaja, so it is something that cannot be easily given up. So such a kingdom, now these two brothers are both are fighting not to take it, both are fighting to give it up. So that is the beauty. So sudustyaja surepsita rajya lakshmi, both brothers are saying, I don't want, you take it. So in Ramayana we will see brothers like you will see three sets of brothers, Rama and Bharata, then Vali and Sugriva, and Vibhishana and Ravana. So you can compare and contrast how these sets of brothers are behaving. Anyway, Ramopi Paramodaraha, I thought I should tell by Rama's grace. What struck me is that Ramopi Paramodaraha, Bharatopi Paramodaraha. Both are great people who are just willing to give away the kingdom. So that Rama, who's capable of giving whatever is asked of him, and he's known for giving whatever is asked on him, but in this case he's not able to honor that, because his father has specifically said that you should go to the forest for 14 years. But then he has an alternative. What does he do? Paduke chasya rajyaya nyasam dattva punah punaha nivartayamasa tato bharatam bharatagrajaha. So bharatagrajaha Ramaha bharatam nivartayamasa. He sent Bharata away. But then how did he send away? Paduke chasya rajyaya nyasam dattva. So his padukas, this nyasam is what's the word I should use? Nyasam is something like I'm transferring some part of me into it, something like that. So I'm superimposing myself on it. So we also do before puja or japa. So anganyasam, karanyasam is, so in your angas or in your fingers, you are doing nyasa of those mantras and lines from those mantras, aksharas from those mantras. So nyasa, I don't know what's the English word for nyasa. So he's let's say entrusting some part of him onto the padukas, and those padukas he gives to Bharata, and then punaha, that means he's trying to persuade Bharata so much, again and again he's trying to persuade to go back, because punaha shows that Bharata is not interested really in doing this, but somehow Rama persuades him and sends him back to Ayodhya. So paduke chasya rajyaya nyasam dattva punaha nivartayamasa tato bharatam bharatagrajaha sa kama manavapyaiva Ramapada upasprusham. So it just struck me right now, bharatam bharatagrajaha. So Rama is being called bharatagrajaha. Why? Because if Bharata himself can have so much vairagya that I don't want the kingdom, he's Bharata's elder brother, how much more vairagya should he have? So that's the dhvani, bharatam bharatagrajaha. स काममनवाप्येव रामपादा उपस्पृशन् नन्दिग्रामे करोद्राज्यं रामागमनकाङ्क्षया. So स काममनवाप्येव, that Bharata, his desire was not fulfilled. Kamam though his desire was not fulfilled, somehow half-heartedly he went back. He touched Rama's padukas, and then he takes those padukas back to Ayodhya. And then in the outskirts of Ayodhya, in Nandigrame, Akarod Rajyam Ramagamana Kankshaya. So he rules from that place called Nandigrama, and in anticipation of Rama's coming back. So in Ayodhya Kanda, he tells Rama that even if you come back one day late, so if today 14 days have ended, tomorrow, the very next day, if you don't come, then I will give up my life. So with such a, let's say, threat out of love, Bharata goes back to Ayodhya, and then he's always in anticipation of Rama coming back. This Bharata ruling Ayodhya as a representative of Rama is something that we should all, it's something that I personally have taken great inspiration in life from as a bhakta. So you should always live a life that you are always accountable to Ishvara, So Bharata rules his kingdom with a certain accountability. What we speak of governance and accountability, even in a corporate setup today. So those things perhaps Bharata displayed in his life, that after 14 years Rama will come back and I am accountable to him. So in that sense, Bharata lives his 14 years. So we should also live life that way, that Rama someday will come and talk to me. He will come and ask me. And that time I should have a face to show Rama. So how will I have a face to show Rama? So only when you live a dharmic life, you can have a face to show Rama, something like that. Anyway, so gate tu bharate Shriman Satyasandho Jitendriyaha Ramastu Punaralakshya Nagarasya Janasya cha Tatragamanamekagro Dandakan Praviveshaha. So gate tu bharate. So when after Bharata has gone back to Ayodhya, so Satyasandho Jitendriyaha, this Satyasandha again and again Narada is harping on the fact that he stands on the promise that he has made. The vratam he has taken, he stands on it. Satyasandha Jitendriyaha. Jitendriya is he has control over the senses. So Indriya, you can take here Bahirindriyas and Antarindriyas both. It shows that he has no greed. In that case of all people coming to Rama and saying you have to come back to Ayodhya. Strictly speaking, had Rama gone back to Ayodhya, everybody would have felt very happy. Nobody would have said Rama, you did wrong, because everybody is asking him to come back. But then he doesn't give up to that. He doesn't relent to that pressure. He says, no, my vratam is this, and I have to follow my father's agnya, so I will follow it. That is what is being indicated by Jitendriyaha. Ramastu punaralakshya nagarasya janasya cha tatra agamanam. So Rama now anticipates that now that these people have come here to Chitrakuta, so these people know where I am staying. So Nagara is the citizens, generally the citizens of Ayodhya, and Janasya are the specific people like the ministers, elders. So these people might keep coming again and again, and if they come, it will be a disturbance not just to my vrata, but then to even the forest dwellers, because it's a place where all maharshis, tapasvis are there. If they keep coming, it will be a disturbance. So, and then every time they come, I have to send them back. That will be a burden. So let me myself go somewhere deeper into the forest so that they don't know. So they don't know where I am. So that's his idea. Tatra agamanam. Agamanam kasya nagarasya janasya cha. So of those citizens and specifically of those elders and ministers, he doesn't want them to keep coming back. So keeping that in mind, what does he do? Dandakan praviveshaha. And then he's ekagraha. Ekagraha here means two things. He's ekagra, he's a person who's now willing to live a life of contemplation, meditation, concentration, and things like that. So he doesn't want to be disturbed from that life. And then ekagraha also means, actually he came to the forest. If you look upon Rama as an avatar of Bhagavan, so he's come to the forest for a specific purpose in mind, and that specific purpose is to kill all the Rakshasas who stay in the forest, and then eventually kill Ravana also. So he doesn't want to get carried away by these people coming. So he's very clear in his mind. What does he want? The end of these Rakshasas. So that is ekagra. He's clear in his mind. So that ekagraha dandakan praviveshaha. So he enters Dandakaranyam. So till here is the story of Ayodhya Kanda, and next starts the story of Aranya Kanda. In fact, even in Aranya Kanda, the first shloka is Pravishyatu Maharanyam Dandakaranyam Atmavan Ramo Dadarsha Durdarshaha Tapasashrama Mandalam. So it's a very beautiful shloka. We will see it when we go to Aranya Kanda, God willing, someday. So that also starts with these very same lines, which is the next shloka. You see, Pravishyatu Maharanyam Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha. So this Pravishyatu Maharanyam is how even that sarga itself starts. So Pravishyatu Maharanyam Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha. That Maharanyam, Dandakaranyam, there also Dandakaranyam Atmavan, Valmiki says, that is what is Jitendriyaha also here. Anyway, Pravishyatu Maharanyam, having entered that great forest called Dandaka, Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha, that beautiful lotus-like eyed Rama, having entered Maharanyam, Dandakaranyam, Vidadham Rakshasam Hatva Sharabhangam Dadarshaha Pravishyatu Maharanyam Ramo Rajivalochanaha Vidadham Rakshasam Hatva Sharabhangam Dadarshaha Sutikshnam Chapyagastyancha Agastya Bhrataram Tatha. So this, having entered Dandakaranya, he kills this Rakshasa called Viradha, and then he has darshana of Sharabhanga Maharshi. So on Sharabhanga Maharshi's suggestion, he goes and has darshan of Sutikshna, and then of Agastya, and then Agastya Bhrata. So Agastya Bhrata is Agastya's brother. So there are various names for Agastya's brother. There is one famous name of Agastya's brother called Sudarshana, and then there is another name for Agastya's brother called Idmavaha. So Agastya actually is supposed to be, from the Puranic stories, he's born from a pot, But then what is this brother of Agastya? Because he's born out of pot, where does brother come from? So some Tikakara has pointed out that brother means he was raised together with Agastya. So that Sudarshana Rishi was raised together along with Agastya, and this Agastya Bhrata, wherever you see, he's always referred to as Agastya Bhrata. At least in Ramayana, he's referred to as Agastya Bhrata. His name is not given. So from other Puranas, you can, from Markandeya Purana and things like that, you can infer that this Bhrata of Agastya is this Sudarshana. So he has darshan of these people, and then Agastya Vachana Chaiva Jagra Haindram Sharasanam Khadgancha Paramaprita Kshaya Sayakau. When he has darshan of Agastya, from Agastya he gets a bow, Aindram Sharasanam. Sharasanam is the asana of Shara. This has come before also, I think. Sharasana is asana of Shara. Shara is arrow, and what is the asana of an arrow? The bow. So he takes from Agastya this Aindram Sharasanam. So Indra's bow. So this Indra's bow he takes from Agastya, and then along with it Khadgam and Tuni. Tuni is arrows, and Sayaka, Akshaya Sayaka is quiver. These quivers are such that how many ever arrows you take from them, they always get replenished. So they are Akshaya Sayaka. There is no, it doesn't exhaust. Such quivers he takes from Agastya. And then Paramaprita is, Rama is very happy that he's getting these ayudhas. You know why? Because these ayudhas are as strong as himself. So a great warrior, if he gets great weapons, he is very happy. That's the idea. The same idea is even in Balakanda, in the story of Rama and Lakshmana going to Mithila. So they see, actually the famous story that we see in movies and all is that there was a Swayamvara and things like that. Actually there was no Swayamvara or anything like that. Vishwamitra goes to Mithila for a yaga for which he is invited. Actually he should have returned Rama and Lakshmana to Dasharatha, but then because he has to go to this yaga first, he takes Rama and Lakshmana also to the yaga. And then there Janaka comes and meets Vishwamitra to welcome him, and then they talk about this Shiva Dhanus, and then Vishwamitra says, why don't you get those Dhanus? These two people, Rama and Lakshmana, are Rajaputras. They will be very happy to see. So there also you can see that Rama is very happy to see that bow. Both Rama and Lakshmana are excited. They want to go and touch it and things like that, but they are waiting. Vishwamitra will tell, go and now you can go and see, then they will see. Anyway, so Rama is fond of weapons because he's a great warrior himself. So that is this Paramapritaha. That he's fond, he's happy that he's found weapons that are befitting his own valor. This Aindram Sharasanam, the story is, it is Indra's bow, but actually it's not Indra's bow. The story comes in a subtle way here itself in Ramayana, in Aranyakanda. So this is the connection that I said, earlier. So when Parashurama comes after Sita's wedding, Rama and Sita's wedding, so Parashurama gives him a bow, Vaishnava bow. So Vishnu's bow. So that bow, after that episode, Rama gives it to Varuna in the story. So Rama gives that bow to Varuna, and then Indra takes it from Varuna, and then Indra comes and gives it to Agastya. When does he give? Exactly around the time when Rama is coming, Indra comes and tells Agastya, Rama is coming here now. So you hand over this bow to him. So that Vishnu bow which Parashurama gave him, that was given by Rama to Varuna, and then from Varuna Indra takes it and Indra gives it to Agastya, because using this bow ultimately he has to fight a great warrior like Ravana. So that's the story. Zaindram Sharasanam actually is its own Vishnu bow only, but then Indra has given it to Agastya. The story comes later, we will see. So Vasatastasya Ramasya Vane Vanacharais Saha Rishayobhya Gaman Sarve Vadhayasura Rakshasam. So when Rama is staying there, Vasatastasya Ramasya, when he's staying in that Vane, in that forest, along with the forest dwellers, some rishis come to him, and all of them request Rama to kill Rakshasas that they are in the forest. So they tell him that, there are many Rakshasas here, they are causing disturbance to us, so you have to please eliminate them. Satesham Pratishushrawa Rakshasanam Tadavane Pratignatascharamena Vadhas Sanyati Rakshasam Rishinam Agnikalpanam Dandakaranyawasinam Tena Tatraiva Vasata Janasthanan. So that will come later. So Satesham Pratishushrawa Rakshasanam Tadavane Pratignatascharamena Vadhas Sanyati Rakshasam. So Rama also listens to their pleas, and then he says, okay, I am giving you my word, I will kill these Rakshasas when the time has come for them. I mean, at the appropriate time, I will kill them in a war. So Sanyati is in a war, in a combat, I will kill them. So that word he gives, Pratignatascha Ramena, that word he gives to whom? Rishinam Agnikalpanam Dandakaranyawasinam. So to these rishis who are dwellers of this Dandakaranya forest, to that rishis he gives a word that at the time, when the time comes in a combat, I will kill all these asuras. So, and these rishis are Agnikalpanam. They are equal to, they look like Agni in their, in their brilliance. That is one explanation. Another explanation are these rishis, and this explanation is more in accordance with the description that Valmiki himself gives. Agni Kalpanam is those who have daily invoked their fire. That means these rishis are somebody who do their Nityagni Hotra. So this what should I say? This description comes in Aranya Kanda of these rishis, the Tapasashrama Mandalam, those rishis doing Nityagni Hotra. So such kind of rishis who do their Nityagni Hotra, to such rishis who stay in Dandakaranya and come have requested Rama to eliminate what should I say, to eliminate the Rakshasas of the forest. They come and request him, and then Rama says, yeah, I will do that. So there is a beautiful conversation here in this context between Sita and Rama. So when we come there, we will see. Tena tatraiva vasata janasthana nivasini virupita shurpanakha rakshasi kamarupini tata shurpanakha vakyad udyuktan sarva rakshasan kharam trishirasam chaiva dushanam chaiva rakshasam nija ghana rane ramastesham chaiva padanugan. So tena tatraiva vasata, while they are staying there, Janasthana Nivasini, Virupita, Shurpanakha, Rakshasi, Kamarupini, all these are adjectives to Shurpanakha. So this Shurpanakha comes there, who is Virupita, that means she is ugly to see, and Kamarupini is she can take any form that she wants, Tena Virupita is Shurpanakha has been, her limbs have been chopped off, so her Rupa has been disturbed by Lakshmana in this story. That her nose and ears have been, her nose has been chopped off. So Tena Virupita. So Shurpanakha, Rakshasi, Kamarupini, Janasthana Nivasini, Virupita. Virupita is they made her, they chopped off her nose. So Janasthana Nivasini, she stays there in Janasthana, in that Dandakaranya. So actually this Janasthana is in the southern part of Dandakaranya, and Janasthana is supposed to be a place where Ravana has his garrison. He has an army, what should I say, battalion garrison in this place called Janasthana, which is the southern part of Dandakaranya. So there he has a garrison which is headed by Khara, Dushana and Trishiras. This Khara and Dushana are Ravana's brothers. So Ravana's mother is Kaikashi. Kaikashi has a sister, and their sister's children, Khara and Dushana. So they are staying there. So this Shurpanakha, Rakshasi, Kamarupini is somebody who can take any form that she likes. She has been deformed by Rama and Lakshmana, and then Tata Shurpanakha Vakya Udyuktan Sarvarakshasan. So Kharam Trishirasam Chaiva Dushanam Chaiva Rakshasam and Padanugan. So these people, Shurpanakha goes and incites them, saying, I am your sister, you have come, you are supposed to save me now, these people have deformed me. She instigates them, and then all of them come back. All of them come to fight Rama. So Khara, Trishirasa and Dushana. Khara, Dushana and Trishiras, and then Tesham Padanugan. So foot soldiers of these people. So how many people come? I think they are Chaturdasha Sahasrani. 14,000 people come. So along with Khara, Dushana and Trishiras, 14,000 people come, and Rama kills them. So we will stop here, because otherwise if we stop somewhere later, I will tell some more about this Khara and Dushana anyway. But then we will stop at this episode where Rama is killing Khara and Dushana. So it's a nice episode to stop at, because otherwise then we will have to stop in between where Sita Devi is taken away by Rama, and we have to stop there. My idea was to stop when Rama meets Hanuman, but since that's not going to happen, we are about 10 or so verses away. We will stop here. Anyway, Vane Tasmin Nivasata Janasthana Nivasinam Rakshasam Nihatan Yasan Sahasrani Chaturdasha. So what happens is Rama kills 14,000 soldiers of this Khara, Dushana and Trishiras. These are all Ravana's own garrison. So he has a garrison of Rakshasas there, and all of them are killed by Rama in a very beautiful as in for Bhaktas it's beautiful that he is killing, but it's a very, what should I say, gruesome war. It's actually in Valmiki Ramayana an example for Bibhatsa Rasa. You get disgusted seeing the aftermath of that war. In such a gruesome war, Rama kills Khara, Dushana, Trishiras and all the foot soldiers, all of them who follow Khara, Dushana and Trishiras. वने तस्मिन् निवसता जनस्थान निवासिनां rakshasam nihatanyasan sahasrani chaturdasha. So Vane, in that forest, these people are staying in that forest, in that particular place called Janasthana. Those people staying in this Janasthana, in that in that forest, those Rakshasas have been killed by Rama. And how many they were in number? They were Chaturdasha Sahasrani, 14,000 in number. We have some time, so I will tell you something about Khara Dushana here, and these things doesn't explicitly come in Ramayana itself, but since we have about 10 minutes, and I will tell you one or two incidents about Sita and Rama's conversation, which is pertinent to Khara Dushana Vadha. So Khara and Dushana and Trishiras are supposed to be three sons or disciples of Yagnavalkya. I don't remember. The story comes in Mahabharata. I think Bhishma tells Yudhishthira the story that they were cursed by Shiva to be born as Rakshasas. And then Khara, the eldest of those sons, his name is Chandrakanta, something like that. So that Khara, Dushana and Trishiras, three sons of Yagnavalkya are cursed by Shiva to be born as Rakshasas. Those people are born now as Khara, Dushana and Trishiras, and 14,000 people are actually those people's disciples. Those disciples are born as Rakshasas. Very beautifully in Valmiki Ramayana, in Aranya Kanda, this comes in Mahabharata. I think in Shanti Parva, I have to check. So this comes in Mahabharata story. This comes in ValmikiRamayana.net also. He mentions this story. If you see Ayodhya Kanda, this is where I first picked up this anyway. So in that story where Khara Dushana is approached by Shurpanakha, the story is mentioned. So so you can see I'm telling you certain things well in advance, because if God forbid we don't proceed to so far in the Ramayana narration, which I want to, and I pray to Rama that it has to happen, but I'm telling you certain things so that when independently if you look at Ramayana at a later date, you can connect to these things. So there, the way Shurpanakha tells the story of her deformation, she tells Khara Dushana the story, and then Khara, Dushana and Trishiras first send their 14,000 army to them, and then they themselves also go. When they send the army to Rama to go and kill him, eliminate him, so he tells a shloka, it's not in my memory, but then he tells a shloka which can be interpreted in two ways. One way, the apparent meaning is that you go and kill them, you go and kill Sita also, go and see Sita, meet her, and then see Rama and Lakshmana, kill them, and their blood my sister Shurpanakha will drink. That is one meaning. Another meaning is the Shurpanakha will drink my blood, so you people better go there and go and see Sita. And Sita is somebody who will, by darshan of Sita, all your sins are absolved. Now when your sins are absolved, Rama will kill you. That means you can go and join into Rama, merge into Rama, then we will also come. So this is a paramarsha of the story, they say, of that Yagnavalkya and things like that. It can actually be interpreted that way, in both ways, that shloka, that you go and then have darshan of Sita. It's a very beautiful actually shloka. So go and have darshan of Sita, and by her mere darshana all your sins will be absolved, and then Rama will merge you into him, and then they also go and then they get killed. This story of Khara and Dushana in this episode, there is, because that I told even in today's class that there's a discussion there when these rishis come to see Rama and request him for their help. I could have proceeded with the other shlokas, but it would have been like we stop in between, which I didn't want to. So there is a rule that some people who are traditional follow, is that you should start and end with something auspicious. You should not start or end with inauspicious. So traditional people, when they are teaching Vedanta also, they don't end with Purva Paksha. So they end always with Siddhanta. If Purva Paksha is, if you happen to be in a long Purva Paksha where Siddhanta doesn't come, so before they end, they will tell, in anticipation, they will already tell what is the Siddhanta before ending. So you start and end, and in between also there should be Mangala. Anyway, so that's why I didn't want to finish the story, proceed with the shlokas. When Sita and Rama are arguing in Ayodhya Kanda as to whether Sita should follow or not, so Rama tells Sita that in forest there will be many Rakshasas, many wild animals. It will be difficult for you to live there. And then Sita makes a very, what should I say, very strong accusation on Rama. She says that I thought my father got me married to a man, but now I realize that you are a woman. So Striya Purusha Vigraham, you look to be a woman in a man's form. in the sense that she's saying, are you not my husband? Will you not take care of me? How can you say that it will be difficult for you? There will be Rakshasas there. It is your duty to take care. You can't give that as an argument for me to not come to the forest. So this is a situation where Rama and Sita had difference of opinion, and then Sita Devi's opinion takes over Rama's opinion. So this is an instance where both are, both are supposed to always have the same consensus ad idem, we say in law terms. So they both have, and this is one case where Sita's opinion overrules Rama's opinion. And then there is another case, which is the case where these rishis approach Rama and Sita. They approach Rama and then request that, there are so many Rakshasas here. Why don't you eliminate them now that you have come? There again, Sita goes and tells Rama, we are living happily in this forest. Why do you want to put up this burden on you? I will kill the Rakshasas. Why should you do that? We can just stay quietly, live our life. You didn't have to make such a promise. There Rama says very beautifully that no, first of all, even before they come and asked me, I should have done this because Ikshvakunam yam bhumi, this keeps coming again. So this entire bhumi belongs to Ikshvakus, and I am representative of that Ikshvakus. So I have to help these Maharshis. Maharshis have their life of tapas without any hindrance. I should have done that on my own accord. I didn't do that, and then they have specifically come and asked me. I can't say no. It is my dharma, and when it comes to dharma, I will always live by dharma, and if need be, I will give up even you and Lakshmana, but I will not give up dharma. So this way, he shows how he holds on to dharma despite whatever the challenge in life is. So this is a situation where Rama and Sita have difference of opinion, but then Rama's opinion overrides Sita's opinion. This shows, and I'm not yet done, but then this shows that even when there is difference of opinion between wife and husband in life, you should always you should not have a thumb rule that the wife will overrule or the husband will overrule. You should always, decide together, discuss and decide what is appropriate in that situation. In the first situation, Sita's opinion seemed appropriate, so Sita's opinion overruled Rama's opinion. The second situation, Sita Devi gives up. She says, yeah, what you say is right. In the second case, when Rama says that it is my duty to protect them, she agrees to it. But then when there is a difference of opinion, you can always talk about it. This is one thing that we can learn from Rama and Sita's life. There were two cases where both of them had a difference of opinion, and in both cases they discuss and then come to a conclusion. And then they give up. Nobody holds on to their, it's not that nobody is ready to yield, and everybody is ready to yield into dharma. In Ramayana, if you see, all the good characters are always ready to yield to whatever is dharma. They might argue because they are not sure of what is the appropriate thing to do, what is dharma in this context. But when they have decided this is dharma, everybody gives up their personal prejudices or opinion. Now, when it comes to Khara and Dushana's war, there is a beautiful shloka which I told yesterday also, which is that Dharmatma Satyasandhascha Ramo Dasharathir Yadi Paurushena Pratidvandvi Sharamenam Jahi Ravanim. So, Lakshmana uses this shloka to kill Indrajit. So there the accusation, it's not an accusation, but to us it might sound like an accusation that Paurushena Pratidvandvi Yadi. So Dharmatma Satyasandhascha Ramo Dashatir Yadi. Dasharatha's son, whether he is Paurushena Pratidvandi, whether he is Dasharatha's son because he's born out of Yajnapayasa. So people might accuse like that. Anyway, so Satyasandaha, did Rama always speak a truth? There will come at least one instance in Valmiki Ramayana where you can doubt that why did Rama say like this. There comes one or two instances, but then you can see that Rama is as though encouraging a lie. So that also is wrong. This situation of Paurushena Pratidvandvi, if Rama is unparalleled in valor, why did this doubt come? Because in the war with Khara, Dushana and Trishiras, there is a description in Valmiki Ramayana itself that Rama takes 2-3 steps behind when Khara and Dushana are approaching him. So they are approaching to attack, but Rama takes 2-3 steps behind. Why will you take 2-3 steps behind? Is he scared? Is he not powerful enough? This doubt might come. So to eliminate that doubt, Paurushena Pratidvandvi, so had Rama been a scared person, I mean, had he not been powerful enough that day, that arrow of Lakshmana would not have killed Indrajit. So that arrow of Lakshmana killing Indrajit is a silencing answer to all these accusations. But then the answer, how you answer this Rama taking 2-3 steps behind, is all the Tikakaras there discuss. They say that that's because to aim a tighter, more powerful arrow, sometimes you have to go back a little and then aim an arrow. That's how Rama went back. So it's not that because he was scared, because eventually after that he kills all of them. So he's not powerless, he's powerful. In fact, to increase more power, to make his arrow more powerful, more targeted, he takes 1 or 2 steps behind. Anyway, that's one idea. But why we are almost, time up. But then let me spend 1 or 2 more minutes to finish these loose ends. That loose end is that's 3 of Purusha Vigraham, where Sita Devi told Rama that my father apparently married me to to a to a woman in man's form. Rama keeps that in mind. So Sita Devi made this allegation against me. Someday I will prove to her what my prowess is, because she thinks, she entertained the doubt that perhaps I cannot save her. So when this Khara Dushana story comes, Rama fights single-handedly, and that's how this comes in the shloka also. Vane tasmin nivasata. So they are staying in Vana and they are all alone. There is nobody else. And even Lakshmana, Rama says he will keep Sita in a cave, and he will tell Lakshmana, you stand outside the cave and protect Sita. I will single-handedly eliminate all these 14,000 Rakshasas. Why did he have to do that single-handedly? So people say that because he knows that Sita Devi has alleged, and now he has to prove to Sita that he is also powerful. And it's a very beautiful scene where after killing all those 14,000 people, with that Ghori, Rama comes again to see Sita, and Sita then feels, she's, I don't know, feels ashamed has a negative connotation, but I don't know what's the beautiful way of putting it in English. She feels she feels bashful, something like that. As in, and only Rama and Sita knows why she's feeling bashful, because Rama is as though telling, remember you told me that day that I'm not capable enough of protecting you. What do you speak about today's incident? So something like that. So she feels very shy looking at Rama that day, and then only Rama and Sita knows why she's feeling shy, because they can relate to that event that happened, and then Sita goes and hugs Rama. That's all there. So with this Khara and Dushana story is a beautiful story. A tiger takes a step back before this, something like that. Yeah, before you pounce, even if you have to shoot an arrow, you go a little back and strongly release the arrow. That's how he releases the arrow. So this beautiful story of Rama Sita's main story, connect these things. So we will stop here for today, and tomorrow Ravana will enter, or whenever is the next session, Ravana will enter, and then Hanuman will enter Sugriva, and then the story proceeds. So Om Yatra Yatra Raghunath Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakанjalim Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम. श्रीरामार्पणमस्तु. Okay, so